figure out what you want to try new in the bedroom and plan it and talk to him about it. Figure out something like that. Do the things that you've already read about that women do to the men that they like. Because yeah, they might start from friends to enemies to friends. I know you read enough to know what you can do towards a man that you really love and care about and admire. You married him for a reason. You don't have to stay on this path. There is some need that's not really being met.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Temporarily and at a very low level being met. But if you put in the work, which I get, it can be overwhelming and it seems like a lot and that can be scary, but it is worth it.
That's whatever.
I mean, I think that looks a little bit different than what you're describing, and I'll explain. But because I think some women will hear that and they'll just tune everything out. But I think what you're trying to say is that, you know, in a woman term, you need to talk to your husband about the resentment that you have, because there's no way you can tell me you don't resent him in some way if you're escaping the reality of him. You need to have a conversation with him. You need to be respectful in that conversation. Even if he's disrespectful to you, you need to say, hey, okay, we'll continue this conversation another time until you can talk to me in a respectful way. But you also need to be respectful.
Right, yeah.
And I get if you have resentment, it's probably not going to look like that. Or it's going to be hard to look like that, but you need to be respectful. You need to maintain respect. You need to get all of those things out on the table. You need to talk to him about them.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't really want to listen to it, you speak your piece and allow him to process, do what you need. And then, like you said, instead of reading the time you would read a book, figure out what you want to try new in the bedroom and like plan it and talk to him about it, or like figure out something like that, or, you know, show him that you care about him by writing him a nice note, like create, like do the things that you've already read about that women do to the men that they like. Because yeah, they might start from friends to enemies to friends, or lovers, whatever, which that's a whole nother thing that I don't even know if we'll have time for that. But they do treat each other in those books very well. That's why they're so in love. That's why they're a romance novel. And I know you read enough to know what you can do towards a man that you really love and care about and admire. And again, I'll go back to when we did the Surrendered Wife podcast episode. You married him for a reason. And I understand that your relationship might have taken some turns, and now you read your book and he goes off into his office, and then you guys come together and it's like meh, because you're investing other places. But like you said, you can change that. Like you don't have to stay on this path. You don't, because deep down there is, like you said, some need that's not really being met. It's temporarily and at a very low level being met. But if you put in the work, which I get, it can be overwhelming and it seems like a lot and that can be scary, but it is worth it. It is worth it. And you have to clean all the shit out from under the rug that you've swept under there and read books instead and dreaming about this life that you want to have. You have to try to make that your reality. And you will be so happy you did. And your husband will be so happy you did.
And you know, there's a lot of people that are going to say, and they have said it, oh, you're making too much of a big deal out of nothing. It's not a big deal. It's not even a big part of my life. I don't even, like, you're just making a big thing out of nothing. It's not, who cares, right? The answer that I would say to that is that you think that it's, because you don't know what your life could be, what your relationship could be.
But they should, because they read the romance novels, right? That's my thing, right? Like you're reading it because it's so appealing, but you can have that life. Like, I think too, what made people upset or not understand is that I get that they can't like peer into our lives and they can't like be in my body and feel the things that I feel. But I'm telling you, you can have the relationships that are in the romance novel, but you have to put in the work, and your husband does too. But you can have it. And you can be the catalyst to make that a reality, to start trying to live. Like they say all the time, romanticize your life. That doesn't mean read a romance book to romanticize your life. It means make your life into a romance novel. That's what we're trying to say. We're trying to help you live what you are escaping.
Right. Exactly.
Like you're using this to escape your real life, but we're trying to help you make this your real life. That's what I just want to like shake them and be like, this is not to shit on your books.
Right.
Like it's not. Like you're not even bad for reading these books. Again, it probably stems from all these other things that were outside of your control.
Right.
But you can have the life of these books. And granted, no, you can't have the life of a fairy prince and a alien sex lord or something. Right. You can't have that.
Sure.
But if you get rid of that, you will start to appreciate and have gratitude for the life that you had and the life that you're building with the person that you love the most.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it, you know, you can think of the same thing as like, you think it might not be affecting you, but man, I know that almost every woman would think if her guy was constantly looking at porn at other women, that in some way it would diminish his attraction for her. So like you can try and make these arguments around it and try to, you know, you're only kidding yourself. You're not kidding us. We're not. Yeah. You could try to say all the kind of stuff like, I don't use it to get off, or I think about my husband when I'm reading the book, and it's like that. Which I think
women can mentally do that. I will say, I think that is possible for women to do.
Sure.
However, it is not the same level of actually doing it with your husband.
But because that's not him. That's not his attributes. That's not how he acts or how he talks.
Right.
And so, yes, you can imagine his body.
Right.
Sure. But that's what if we reverse that and a guy was imagining some other woman's body?
I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying I think women can actually mentally put their husband into the character and visualize him doing the things. But you are 1,000% right of that. It's still not really him, because I'm sure he has different attributes than he does in real life.
Yeah. I mean, it'd just be weird to be like, I like the virtual you. I like the you that I make up in my head.
Well, here's the thing, too.
Yeah.
If your husband is like the man in the books, even, why aren't you just creating your own story over here together? Like, you don't need to read about it. Right. Like, if he is like the guy in the book, or you're imagining him in the book, like, you would just go and do the things with your husband because he's like the guy in the book. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it just still doesn't fully connect to me on a lot of the things that they're saying. And I get, like you said, that they're trying to justify it. And I get why they're trying to justify it. And they think we're judging them, and we're really not. Yeah. We're just trying to show the logical side of it as people who don't use these things. Right. And even at one point, you were like, you can use, you know, some stuff if you need to do. And I was like, I don't need to. Right. I don't want to. Right. And it's not like we were promoting that, but it's like, we hadn't had the conversation,
and really thought
deeply.
it and thought it through, and it is a shortcut, right? Because even as a man, I could fall into that temptation and be like, oh yeah, this will make things more fun, but it's not a smart move, right? Because there's a trade-off of that, right? It's like you got to think this all the way through, and that's what I think most people just haven't. They treat this lightly. They're like, it's not a big deal. These people are crazy, or what are they talking about? Romance, but like, who cares if someone reads the book? Like, stupid. Like, stop being controlling and an idiot, right? I get it. But if you actually deeply think through this and realize what the implications are and what's happening psychologically to yourself and to your relationship, you realize it's not so innocent. It is not, you know, and the thing, and we were talking about this before, we didn't mention this, but you can always just evaluate something by saying, does this bring us closer or further? Does this increase intimacy or decrease intimacy?
Right.
And maybe it's neutral, right? But if you look at it and you say, all right, if I read an erotic fantasy novel about some other people having sex, does that increase intimacy with my partner? I don't, like, you can say, oh, well, we have more sex, but couldn't you just have more sex? Like does the thing that you're doing increase or decrease intimacy? And if you're really honest with yourself, you'd have to say, okay, well, that might decrease intimacy, right? So that's all we're saying is like you pick things, you know, even just taking the time that choosing, because it's your happy time, right? Like you're doing happy time stuff. So you're choosing to do happy time stuff when you could be doing happy time stuff with your partner. So that's not increasing intimacy. It's also a trust factor as well. It's like, oh, well, he knows I read that, he knows. Yeah, but does he know the thoughts that are in your head? And if he did know the thoughts that were in your head, would that increase or decrease intimacy? So just because he doesn't know them doesn't mean that it doesn't decrease intimacy, because it did for you and you didn't realize it. And you are in some way hiding something. You see what I'm saying? So again, no one's perfect, right?
Right.
But it's just, look, and you can do it. The thing I was saying before too is that, look, if you want to drink alcohol, like we don't drink alcohol anymore, that's fine. I don't have a problem. I'm not going to judge you. If you want to drink alcohol, go ahead, drink alcohol. It's fine, right? But do not come to me and tell me that alcohol is good for you. Just don't do that. Like, I'm not going to judge you. You want to do it, right?
Don't say it's healthy.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. It's like, if you want to read the books, you're an adult. You could choose what. I'm not trying to control you, trying to tell you what to do. However, don't tell me it's healthy. That's if you acknowledge and say, okay, maybe it's not the best thing, maybe it's but I like it and I'm going to do it. Okay, I can respect that. But what I can't respect is trying to gaslight me, trying to like make excuses like some kind of a junkie, like about your addiction, and not just coming to terms with it. If you just say, hey, yeah, it is something that I'm addicted to, I'm struggled with, or maybe I shouldn't do it, but I like to do it and I'm going to keep doing it. Hey, I had a guy that I was doing a call with, and he was like, and I was like, oh, I can help you quit smoking. And he was like, nah. He's like, it's not good for me. It's probably gonna kill me, but I don't care. I like it anyway, and I'm gonna do it. I don't want any help. I was like, okay, fine. I respect you. That's cool. Like, as long as you're not trying to tell me it's good for you, So that's all about that. But.